Welcome back. In our last video, we talked about taking the graph of a line and writing the equation for it. Well, now we're going to talk about how can we take the equation in slope-intercept form and draw the graph from it. So in our last lesson 5.5, we took an equation like the following, and we made a table. Well, we're going to actually use the patterns of what we know and use those patterns in order to graph without having to find several points in a table. So how does that work? Well, we know that slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is our slope, which means our rise over run, and b is our y-intercept, which is where we cross the y-axis. So what always helps me when I go to graph equations is I like to tell myself what is m and what is b. So my m here is going to be the 4/3. The slope is just the coefficient, not the x. So my m is 4/3. My b is the number at the back, right? And normally it says plus b, but if you notice, this is -1. So I'm going to think of this as a -1. So I've got my slope, I've got my y-intercept. So to graph, step 1 is to plot the y-intercept. So remember, the y-intercept, that doesn't look like an E, is the point 0, comma, whatever our y-intercept is. So in this case, it'd be 0, comma, -1. And just to use alliteration like I did on the last one, I'm going to begin at B, right? So plot y-intercept or begin at B, however you want to think about it. So I'm going to start where y is a -1. So here I am at 0, -1. I'm going to put a point. Now I am going to count my slope to find my second point. So step 2 is to use your slope to find / plot more points. I like to think of this, so if the first step is begin at B, then our second step is to move our M, all right? Begin B, move M. So what this means is when I look at my M, that I am going to go up 4, because that's rise, right? +4 would go up, and run, and since it's positive, that means right 3. So from my slope or my y-intercept, so that's 0, -1, from here, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to plot a point there. And then it makes it easier for, I know I have an easier time when I'm actually drawing if I have multiple points. So from here I can go up 4 again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and write 1, 2, 3. There's my next point. If I wanted even more points, I could go the opposite, right? I could go down and left, because down and left would make still a +4/3. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, and left 1, 2, 3, and so that gives me a point down here that I could use. And from there, I'm going to draw my line. And again, if you're doing this paper, pencil, and not on the computer, then use any straight edge to help you make a straight line. And I always find that the more points I have to connect, the easier my line stays straight, and so it just makes it better. Now on Math Excel, I made in the Tuesday Q&A, I showed you how you can graph using or on Math Excel if that was something you were struggling with. All right, so now on to our next example. Now we're going to graph the equation 1/4 x minus 5. So again, I'm going to find my m, I'm going to find my b, remembering that y equals mx plus b, and so here's my m. My m is 1/4. My b, in this case is again negative, is a -5. So whatever the sign in front of our b value, that is going to be the sign of our b. All right, so we begin at b. So I'm going to go, remember this is the point 0, -5. So I'm not going left or right, I'm just going to go down 5. So there's my y-intercept, and then from here I'm going to move m. So my m is up 1 and right 4. And so I'm going to go up 1 and right 1, 2, 3, 4. And up 1 and right 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to down 1 though, because I got to do the opposite. Down 1 and left 1, 2, 3, 4. And I can fit another one, so we'll go down 1 and left 1, 2, 3, 4. And then from here, yep, see, I'm going to pause and draw my line. Silly me thinking I could draw a line while my video was still going. So from there we draw our line, and we have now graphed the equation using what we know about slope and y-intercept and how they relate on the graph. And so this should be easier or faster than using a table of points. All right, so just a couple more things. I want to talk to you about horizontal lines. So when we're graphing lines that go straight across with a 0 slope, right? So horizontal lines, our slope equals 0, right? Our equations for horizontal lines, so if we're going left and right, think about the fact that they are going through one y value and one y value only. So when we write equations of horizontal lines, it's going to be y equals, and then whatever number we're going through the y value at. So if I draw something here and I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, and something like this, the equation of this line is going to be y equals 4, because it doesn't matter what x value I choose. Whatever x value I choose, y is still going to be 4, because there is no slope. Now, vertical lines, so our lines that go straight up and down, think about the fact that the line will pass through the x-axis, and that is the only x value that that line will have. So with vertical lines, let's talk about how the slope is undefined, because we can't divide by 0. But our equation, I should put here, equation, is whatever our x is. So our equation will be x equals, and then whatever number it goes through the x-axis. So if I were to draw, and let's do -1, 2, I can't draw a straight line today. That's going to work. I know it's not straight, but we're going to say that it is. We're going to say that it's going through at -3, right? That x value is -3. Well, then the equation of that vertical line is going to be x equals -3. So, moral of horizontal and vertical lines, if you have x equals a number, then you've got a vertical line. If you have y equals just a number, no x in the equation at all, then it's going to be a horizontal line. So, example 5, if we were to do, if we were to do y equals 6. Then I'm going to go where y is 6, and my line is just a horizontal line where y is 6. Or maybe y equals -5. So then I go where y is -5, and I draw the best horizontal line I can draw where y is -5. Right? Y equals -2. Here's -2. Draw a line. There is y equals -2. Y equals 6. Y equals -5. All right. So that is how we graph horizontal lines. Again, notice there is no x in these equations. So example 6, we'll talk about some vertical lines. So what if we have x equals -7? We'll do x equals -3, x equals 4, and x equals 8. So those are the equations we're working with. Notice there are no y's, but the reason for that is no matter what the y value is, the x is always going to be that number. So when we have this, I go where x is -7, and I draw the best to my ability a vertical line at -7. Vertical lines are not the easiest thing to do for me to do. All right. And then I can go where x is -3, and yeah, see, maybe one of these days I could draw just straight down my drawing pad. Here is x equals -3, x equals 4. I'm going to go where 4 is. I'm going to draw this one as dashed because I'll be able to dash a vertical line better than I can draw a solid line. And so this was x equals 4. And then I'm going to do x equals 8. So I go where x is 8, and I draw a vertical line. So these were just examples. They should not show up in your Math Excel, but they will most likely show up in our activity that we will be doing on Thursday. So that is all for my lessons today. Please feel free to reach out if you need assistance. Until next time.